I was surprised when Benoit died, but I wasn't like
in disbelief of like, this has to be wrong.
Like, this cannot be right. No, you made a mistake. Bowie.
Okay, let us not forget here. This is Bowie we're talking about.
You should double check, because I'm pretty sure that no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're wrong here. I don't care what the people closest to him said. They're probably wrong too.
Like the doctors? No, they just don't understand alien anatomy.
Bunch of quacks. They have freaking no clue. They've just never had to work on somebody. He's obviously regenerating. For crying out loud, that's what he does. He's obviously a Time Lord. Greetings, fellow rewriters. It's time for the One More Rewrite podcast. And as we launch into another one, it's a full lineup for us, and sadly we've got some passing news, so to speak. Oscar nominees are out. There's been Wonder Woman footage released, and we got some trailer talk for you. Well, to kick things off, I guess we'll just launch right into the newest Suicide Squad trailer that just leaves me sitting here. I don't know.
The entire internet hates you right now.
I don't care.
I want you to know that. I want you to know that the entire internet hates you right now.
I just don't. Okay, so the trailer it shows a lot more action, has a lot more Will Smithing.
Yes, he definitely Will Smith's all over the place.
Will Smith's all over the place, which does not feel like Deadshot to me. Which, again, goes back to my whole issue with casting. And heavy usage of Queen songs in the trailer.
Yes, well, one in particular.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like, okay, how do I say it? Like, the trailer was enjoyable, but I entirely attributed that to the fact that I like Queen. You know?
Well, who doesn't? Right?
It's kind of like Queen is one of these.
It's a great tune.
It's a great tune, and you're just sitting there. And afterwards, I watched it, and then I was like, I'm gonna watch that again, but I'm gonna watch it on mute. And just to like kind of take in the action and kind of the scenes are going on, and it doesn't play nearly as well without the sound, which is a dub.
Well, of course.
But at the same time,
it's cut to the sound.
It's cut to the sound. But it's just, I'm still not sold, I guess. And yeah, I know, it's like big shock.
Yeah, so you cut out the sound and play Merry-Go-Round Broke Down instead.
Yeah, I play the Looney Tunes theme, and I'm sitting there going, no. I think one of the best things I've heard about the upcoming movie is that Margot Robbie, is that how you say her name?
I think so, and I don't think I've ever heard it said out loud.
Okay.
It's Robbie or Robbie.
Whatever, but I'm
pretty sure the Margot part's right.
Yeah. Is that there's like how do I say it? Harley Quinn has been around for over 20 years now, like ever since like the first introduction of the animated series, and she has a lot of expectations to live up to. So, yeah, she's been around 20 years, and you have an established history there, and an established idea, not just in fanboy minds, but in, like, kind of readers' minds, in minds of people who watched the cartoon growing up. So, I've like I said, I've heard it best put that she has a lot to live up to, and I don't know that necessarily, like, her performance as Harley Quinn is going to be, like, the quintessential thing that may make the movie fall apart, but that made me soften a little bit towards it, saying, oh, okay, I can totally understand that. Like, she's just the person they cast for it. I don't have anything against her personally. She might actually be really good in the role. It's just, the look for me is still totally wrong.
The look isn't quite there, and of course it's not Arlene Sorkin doing it.
It's not Arlene Sorkin, who, like, obviously is a bit too old for the part right now, but you still think of that kind of bubble-headed kind of New Yorker, like, New Yorker kind of accent.
Anything else I can do for you, huh?
Yeah. Kind of Yeah, that was her an Oscar.
That was her an Oscar,
which
yeah.
like, it just sticks out like a sore thumb.
It does. That voice just sticks right out at you. But yeah, that's well. I see, as always, where you're coming from with Suicide Squad. Is this isn't mine? Yeah, you go no, but this isn't supposed to be.
It's just there's just so much that's just like so like. If it was one thing, if it was like I don't like the look of Harley Quinn, that'd be one thing. If it was just like why did they cast Will Smith to be Will Smith as Deadshot?
Right.
Deadshot's real code name is Will Smith because
right.
Seeing him spout off quotes in this trailer as well, you're just like, and this is why I couldn't buy you as like a Nigerian doctor in Concussion, because every other role you've had, you've been Will Smith,
right,
so to speak.
Right. And it's kind of like Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is great at being Tom Hanks doing these things.
Yes.
Like he never like melts into a role like, Daniel Day-Lewis becomes Lincoln.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks is a guy who is put in these situations. Yes. And he's always Tom Hanks reacting to these situations, which he does very well.
For Tom Hanks.
But he's always being Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Which is an entirely different thing.
Yes.
Than being the person.
So, yeah. So,
we have a difference of opinion on this movie. Clearly, obviously, it's going to be one of the biggest movies ever. The internet is all abuzz about how awesome the trailer is and about how they cannot possibly wait one more second to watch this movie.
I can. It's one of those movies that, I might see, but I'm not going to be there opening day, like, eagerly awaiting it. I'll see it because I see most action movies, and I just... I don't know. You see it, and you just... I don't know how else to put it. There's just so many
give up on this idea that it has to be exactly the way that they are in the regular DC universe. It's more of an Elseworlds.
Well, I can get into Elseworlds, I guess, too. But the problem for me is there's just still too much. There's still just too much about it that just it's so off-putting to me. I mean, like you've got, I don't know how else to I cannot overemphasize how wrong I feel it is to have cast Will Smith as Deadshot. I'm not saying that he isn't a good action star. Because
what's wrong with it? Is it just the lines that he's spouting in the trailers that's bothering you?
It's the lines that he's spouting off in the trailer because it's just like something he would have spouted off in the 90s, which I enjoyed. But it feels so wrong for the character of Deadshot, so out of phase, so not even an Elseworlds thing, just so much, so much, like you're just saying, like Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks in every role he's been in. Will Smith is Will Smith in every role he's been in, which is fine. I own a lot of Will Smith movies, and I've seen a lot of Will Smith movies that I plan to own, and I like him as an action star. However, it's just like when and maybe it's my own comic book knowledge getting in the way and saying, not so much like that, you're destroying my beloved thing, but just like,
you ruined my childhood!
It's like, I mean, if you put Ang Lee to direct Hulk, that would be the kind of bad. Oh wait, that happened. It's like
it makes an entirely different kind of movie.
It makes it an entirely
which
different.
I thought was superbly directed and very comic book like.
Yes, but I would say the majority of the population did not agree with it.
It was the script that stank on that one. It was that last end of it where
he turns into a giant electric monster.
Where there's an entire giant electric monster, yes, and that deserves to be a rewrite all on its own.
Yes.
But saving that.
I don't think they're saving it. Well, I know we're still at the wait and see phase, and it's still several months off. We don't get this movie until August, but I would say the hype is real because the hype is all it's got for me at this point, and I just I am just in utter shock every time I see one of these of just like how
there is greatness in this. There is potential for greatness. This could be a really good show.
And I don't even feel like I want to have the energy to go off on how the Joker seemed in these trailers, because it's just
it's like how the Joker would be if he was a real person. That's the entire conceit of it, is if it was a real person, how would they be?
I think that they'd be closer to Heath Ledger's performance. I know everybody's praised his performance to the moon and back as the most realistic that there's been on screen, and there's always inevitably going to be that comparison and yada yada yada. But it is hard, and not just because the poor schlub died, but because it was a really good performance. It really was.
It was a great performance.
It was an Oscar-worthy performance. It was everything you would expect a Joker come to life be. He wasn't always wearing the makeup. He wasn't always the acting like a goofy bounce off the walls character. He was at his core psychotic. So seeing
okay, I said I just want to watch the world burn.
Some people just want to watch the world burn. And as overused as that is as a meme, it's absolutely true for the Joker character in this. Okay, I didn't want to go off on this too much, so I just.
Okay, enough going off.
I'm ready to wrap.
You digressed.
I'm ready to wrap this segment, because who knows? We may even get yet another trailer.
I'm sure that we'll get a few more.
I say when you start seeing it advertised on everything from popcorn bags to tissue paper, that's when you should worry.
Right, it just doesn't seem like that kind of a movie.
All right, well, we'll see. We've got a couple months before, I think 7 before it comes out. But for now, hey, great use of a Queen song. I'll give them that. I always like a well-cut trailer, and I'll give them that too. But gosh, just Will Smithing. Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I guess since we're in the DC universe talking Suicide Squad trailer, we should also mention that some footage for Wonder Woman was released recently, and it looks kind of okay.
Well, it's not even a trailer yet.
It's like
I want to watch like an actual put together kind of piece of, work where you actually get to watch a trailer. And everything cut to Bohemian Rhapsody. Or
no. So this is why
maybe cut it to Under Pressure. That would be good. Yeah.
No, I don't want to misappropriate a fantastic tune featuring Bowie and Freddie Mercury. No.
It's really one of the best songs ever. But anyway,
it is footage. It's not really a trailer because it's interspersed with commentary by Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
So you get his kind of take on it, which does nothing for me to disguise the fact that I still would never have cast Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, because she just does not have the physique for it in my mind. Not that she has to be like what's her face from the original series,
Linda Carter.
I was gonna say Diane Keaton. It's like, no, man. Linda Carter.
No, she was playing Diana.
Yeah, she was playing Diana.
Secretly Wonder Woman.
Yes. But she doesn't have to have Linda Carter's kind of physique. But
Linda Carter didn't have the Amazonian physique either.
No, but she had a little bit more meat on her bones, so you could kind of see her throwing a punch. Right. At least for me, she wasn't roided out or anything, and not that you need that from Wonder Woman, because that would just look weird. But I kind of want to see some muscle tone there. I know it's like
you want China to be playing.
I want
Wonder Woman.
I want China. I want Ronda Rousey. I want somebody who looks like that. I could believe could beat somebody up in a fight.
Gotta have the dark hair though. I don't know if she'd dye her hair for it.
I say here's some dye bottle. You'd probably be great. Do it. And I know
there's probably Cyborg. There you go.
There's
got the muscles.
Yeah. There's probably somebody who would say you're judging her on her looks. Well, yes, and it has nothing to do with her femininity. I wouldn't buy Will Smith as, actually no, he works out. But I wouldn't buy somebody lithe in another role either, which is why I'm glad that Ryan Reynolds has obviously worked out for the role of Deadpool.
Yeah.
Because I think prior to that he looked a little scrawny to me. So seeing that he's kind of buffed up.
He can bulk up like that. Yeah, and Chris Pratt,
Chris Pratt obviously bulked up. If they would have had him in Jurassic World or even Guardians of the Galaxy being his chunky self, right. I would have been kind of Like, I'm not buying this schlub running around, but there's something about muscle. Anyway, not to digress too much.
I'm not mad at the Gal Gadot, actually. I think that she's probably going to be all right, and I think that she kind of fits into the role. She definitely doesn't. She's not the Amazon that we think of when we think Amazon.
Yeah.
But then, neither was Linda Carter. I still have a huge crush on her.
Linda Carter was an amazing bit of casting because, she was not Amazonian, but there was something about her look that kind of captured the way that Wonder Woman looked in the 70s and 80s. So she had the physical appearance of the character popped out. And that's not just due to the costume, but because...
Right. And I think that probably part of what you're objecting to is that they went with a darker, more muted palette for the costume.
Which is, it's another thing. It's like, why does everything have to be so, freaking dark, through, I can't see the colors pop?
What were you expecting? Blue and yellow spandex?
I saw it in the actual, what was it, X-Men First Class or whatever. The only good thing about the movie was the throwback to the original costumes. They worked fine to me. And I don't mind if they change the costume a little bit, but it doesn't have to look so dark that I can't tell that, that's red. It's not brown. She's not wearing brown and black and gray and different shades of apparently, it's like, who designed her costume? A dog? No offense, Harley. It's just I don't understand the need to make everything have this bleak, quote unquote, edgy tone with the superheroes.
It's a muted palette. It's the same colors. It's just a more muted palette because bright red on there is ridiculous. It doesn't look realistic, and we want to have this look a little bit more realistic rather than just having Superman flying around with his underwear on the outside.
I did not mind that change to his costume. What I did mind was the desaturation that Zack Snyder used, because I've seen people who've done YouTube videos of what it would have looked like if they hadn't done the desaturation.
Yep.
And sitting there saying, there's nothing wrong with that. I would not have found that ridiculous in the least. Just like I didn't find Christopher Reeve's look ridiculous in the least. Yes, okay. At this point, sadly, the kind of the underwear on the outside look, which was sort of like a throwback to the strongmen days of the 1920s, 30s when Superman first introduced.
Right.
That works. Back then, and now it kind of looks ridiculous. So they kind of have.
Right. I don't think that you could release the original Superman looking like that these days.
No.
Nobody would buy it. They'd laugh him out of the room.
Yeah, but that does not, to me, necessarily mean that you can't have a little bit more brightness in the colors. So, before we totally get digressed into color palettes here, was there anything else that struck you on it? Because for me, I just was like, well, it looks okay, but
it was basically just random footage that wasn't pieced together in any sort of a way, so we have no idea. It was just, oh, hey, look, here's pictures of things that happen in the movie. And I want to wait until I see the actual trailer for it, cut together with a good Queen song, and, see, okay, fine, we'll cut it together to Aerosmith.
That's better, I guess.
Whatever you want to do. I mean, I think that probably you could, Meghan Trainor would probably work fairly well.
Yeah, I just... I know they're trying to get people pumped up because maybe there's early word is that they're not overly enthused and they want to keep giving gas to the Justice League idea here because you want to keep fueling that fire, hoping that they're probably really hoping that they can get something going like the Marvel universe.
Right. Well, they're trying to build. DC is trying to make the same thing that Marvel did, but they're doing it poorly. Yes,
they're doing it poorly and so backwards. Okay, first we'll have a Superman movie. Okay, so you establish his character. Then we'll go right into a semi-Justice League movie with Doomsday, Lex Luthor. We've got Wonder Woman making an appearance, and he's fighting Batman, but he's not really fighting Batman because we give that away in the trailer. And now we're going to move on to a Wonder Woman movie, and I still remember there's images out there of Aquaman. So Aquaman's probably going to be in this movie somewhere too.
Great.
and they haven't.
Aquaman, why don't you go
Talk to some fish. Yeah. So I don't know what their intent is with releasing this hodgepodge of footage with Kevin Smith talking over it. You've got kind of like, okay, see, we've got street cred. We've got Kevin Smith, and he's a comic book
He's
aficionado.
a comic book guy.
See,
hey!
And that's the part the other part that really gets me of it. Besides the fact that I think Gal Gadot is miscast, is you have this footage, this kind of hodgepodge footage with Kevin Smith talking about it, which to me just feels so much like, look, see, we know what we're doing. We got Kevin Smith.
Right, yeah.
He's a comic book guy too, which, God bless him, I like Kevin Smith.
Bebke Jansen. That's who I was thinking of. That's who I wanted.
Oh, yes. She would have made a fantastic Wonder Woman. She
would have been perfect for Wonder Woman.
She's good and tall, got the physique.
Got the physique.
She
looks like she can do it. Looks kind of like got that Amazonian kind of build.
I know it's been over a decade since she was in GoldenEye, but I still remember like she was like a kind of a powerhouse beating up on a top, Zinnia on a top, but I could buy her as actually physically beating up Bond.
Yeah.
So
if you can imagine her beating up Bond, I can imagine her beating up anybody.
Yes. And like it's gosh. We'll see where it goes from here.
We'll see. We got to wait for an official trailer to start giving like some kind of opinion on what the movie's going to be. I appreciate your convictions about Gal Gadot, but until we see an actual trailer, I don't think that we have a good idea of what the movie is going to be like.
I guess
we just got random snippets of footage from the film, and no matter what film you're looking at, you can't know what you're looking at until you see something kind of slick produced, kind of give you an idea about what kind of vibe they're going for with it.
No, I see what you're saying. And
I don't think you've gotten to see enough of her yet.
I don't think you've gotten to see enough of her quite yet, but at the same time, it does have that kind of feel to me that we're trying to sell you the idea that this is good, because there's just something deeply wrong with the idea that they pulled out Kevin Smith to talk about it, I guess. That to me is almost like we're advertising.
It's a little bit too pandering for you.
It's a little bit too pandering for me. See, we're giving legitimacy to what we're making because we've got this guy here, you young fellow with the beard. Yeah, okay, but like Lunchbox says, we'll have to see where it goes. We'll see probably a real trailer soon. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one slapped on the front of the upcoming Batman vs. Superman movie.
I'm sure there will be, yeah.
That's probably why you have footage already, is maybe to build a little bit of buzz. But
I think it's just to get people talking about it. I mean, rather,
we are talking about it, hey.
Whether it's good or bad, at least they're talking about you.
Well played. All right, we'll see how it goes. Well, since we've talked about the DC universe, let's shift universes to a galaxy far, far away.
Right.
And
a long, long time ago.
And it's true, all of it. So I just love those words. The Star Wars Episode 8 movie has been officially pushed back from a May 26th release? Yeah, May 26th, 2017 was its original release. Now they're pushing it back to December 15th. Same year, 2017, which is only a few months, but I guess they decided that they couldn't quite keep up the pace that they were expecting to.
I don't think it's that. I think that they decided to just release it counter-programming, as we like to say.
Oh, really?
Because December, you get a whole lot of Oscar-nominated films, or films that want to be Oscar-nominated.
Films that want to be Oscar-nominated films.
So you get a lot of those in December, which tend to be heady dramas.
Yeah.
And not a lot of big action flicks.
Yeah. And, I don't want to say Star Wars isn't necessarily just a big action flick, although...
Well, true. I mean, but, it's...
It's an action adventure for the whole family, really.
Right. It's something that you could take the whole family to, which, as we know...
You can't always do with Oscar-nominated movies.
Right, Dad. Tend not to be able to.
No.
Not taking your 5-year-old to go see Monsters Ball.
Nope.
So...
Not taking my 2-year-old to see Mad Max either. It's like, hey kid, let's see some fire. But
right.
Yeah.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yes. It's interesting. Maybe it's that. I can see that as being part of the reason. Part of me thinks it's just the sheer.
I think they didn't want to be up
out.
against the other summer movies, and didn't want to be up against a bunch of other action movies.
Yeah.
And just said, hey, you know what? December worked out last time. Let's do that again.
We made what, $1 billion? Yeah, we can do it again probably. And yeah, they probably will make another $1 billion off of it.
Right. I think we can get away with releasing it in December. It seemed to work last time.
Okay, so you're thinking it's less to do with them not wanting to work at a brisk clip, but kind of more of a
this seems like a good time to release a movie.
We went pretty unchallenged and boom. And
yeah.
So, yeah,
You're not up against anything.
No, I guess I could see that. They're dropping
if they would have released this Force Awakens in the summer, they would have been up against
Jurassic
World.
That's true.
They might have gotten some of their audience, probably would have gotten some of their audience siphoned off by that.
That's true.
I mean, Jurassic World made $1 billion.
Jurassic World made $1 billion, so everybody can't make $1 billion at the same time.
Yeah, we can't all have the money. It's a zero-sum game. People only see so many movies.
And that's probably true that people only see so many movies.
Yeah, 5 movies on average a year.
Really, that people will see?
Yep.
Okay, well then, many people chose wisely, and they probably spent 4 of those 5 movies
watching Star Wars over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, they spent 3 of them watching Star Wars and 2 watching Jurassic World.
That's I was gonna say, so that's how many I'm supposed to watch on average. I'll throw 3 of them towards it, so you gotta know how to distribute your movie watching, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, spread it out a little, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Really? You haven't seen any of the Oscar-nominated films? Come on.
Nope, I keep it to the average. 5 movies a year, and that's it. So, yeah, I guess they're dropping in Pirates of the Caribbean to take its place, which I kind of thought the steam had run out on that franchise, but I guess if it made just enough.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Then Johnny Depp likes being crazy. Having an excuse to dress like crazy.
He likes playing Keith Richards. I understand that.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't? I mean, really. When it comes right down to it, it's a fun character to play.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's still got the legs in it. But that's something for
2017 to worry about, not this year. So, yeah, it's pushed back. Star
Let
Wars,
our future selves deal with that.
Yeah, really. I'm sure we'll hate ourselves in the future. Like,
thanks,
past me. Why didn't you talk about it then? Or for all we know, it could end up getting canceled in pre-production, and you'll be laughing about this a year from now, saying, right. Remember when we thought they were going to actually do this? But yeah, okay, so it'll probably go uncontested. It's a little bit longer to wait for the next Star Wars sequel, and you know what? I, along with the rest of the world, am willing to wait, because I almost guess the first one, Star Wars Force Awakens, was a pretty darn...
The 7th one?
The 7th one was a pretty darn solid entry, so I'm willing to wait for the 8th to see where it goes. Yeah.
I think it's going to go to a dark place.
You think it's... Which is weird, because I already felt like this one was a little bit of a dark place.
No, it's going to go way dark in the next one.
And, yeah, it can only... it has to, I guess. You have to have that kind of... How does it go? You've got the kind of introduction, happy to the characters, then you've got this, second act.
And then you've got Empire.
You've got your dark second act, and then you've got to have your third one with the Ewoks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always got to have the Ewoks.
Always got to have the Ewoks. So, well... Gotta wait, though, for 2019, probably, to see the Ewoks again.
Yeah.
If they're doing them every couple of years. Which I'm fine with. Ewoks, man. Alrighty. So, part of our, meat and potatoes here is talking about the Oscars every year, which I'd like to plug that sometime early February we'll have our Oscar Spectacular, where we dissect the nominees and
make our
hide the
horrible predictions that are always wrong.
That are, well, I think we got kind of a 50-50 split. The really disappointing one for me last year is still I'm feeling the sting of Michael Keaton not winning.
As we all are. He was incredible.
He was incredible, and I saw a Vine of him clearly pulling out his Oscar speech, and then he kind of and tucking it back in. It just takes
Yeah, and he won the SAG award for Birdman, and it's voted on by the same people. How did the same people not...
Yeah, and like, you know what, he gracefully did it. He, like, stands up, pulls it out. Oh, and he tucks back in the speech and starts clapping, and you're just like, dang it, man! I feel you.
Like, now you've got to do another Oscar-worthy performance. Come on!
I know.
Michael Keaton definitely deserves one
Michael
at some
Keaton
point.
deserves one.
But we had J.K. Simmons. So
that's true. So anyway, Oscar 2016 noms are out, and not too many surprises. I'd say the biggest surprise would be that Straight Outta Compton wasn't nominated for anything.
Right, yeah, it really surprised me. Original screenplay. It was nominated for original screenplay.
What do we call that?
That's the Citizen Kane Award.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, you were great. Yeah, go over there now.
Yeah, that's a good boy. You made a good picture. This is all you get.
Right. and that was, and kind of a surprise to me that, because it got nominated for a bunch of awards at all the other awards.
Yeah.
And so that...
But as we just said, that doesn't seem to always indicate.
It really doesn't. Not even nominated.
Nominated
and for me, that one, obviously a glaring one that a whole lot of people have commented on, should have gotten more nominations. Director for F. Gary Gray, the cinematography and, even sound design. You couldn't give it for sound design?
Well, it's up against some stiff competition with Mad Max and Star Wars, because they always...
Which speaking of Star Wars, we can have up to 10 Best Picture nominees now.
And Star Wars
couldn't throw it a bone and give it a Best Picture nomination? Even if it's not getting nominated?
Yeah,
how many do we actually have this year?
I'm looking at the list, and it's 8. There are 8 nominations this year.
See, we could fit in 2 more. It could have had Jurassic World and Star Wars in there, and maybe somebody would have watched the Academy Awards.
Yeah, really. Well, the fact that Mad Max... Okay, since we talked about surprise that isn't on there, let's talk about the fact what is on there.
Yes.
I'm surprised that Mad Max was nominated for 10 awards.
I really am too. It just kind of blows me away.
Best Director. Best Director for Mad Max. I want to see it happen. It won't. But
yeah, it's not going to win. But it's great that George Miller got nominated for it. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, I didn't love the movie as much as you did.
Well, no, I felt it was awesome. But yeah, the fact that the Academy gave it that kind of recognition.
That it recognized it is just crazy to me. The Mad Max was the one that they picked.
Yeah. I kind of wish that, God, what am I blanking on her name? That What's-Her-Face would have been nominated.
Charlize Theron.
I wish Charlize Theron would have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Because, I thought she was great.
More so than getting it nominated for Best Picture. I could see Charlize Theron getting nominated for Best Actress.
Yes.
Or even Best Supporting Actress. Depending on how they decided to work it out. I mean, clearly she was the star of the show. It wasn't Mad Max.
It wasn't Max as much as it was Charlize Theron's Imperator Furiosa.
Yeah, Furiosa.
Furiosa, let's forget the title. But yeah, it surprises me that made as many noms as it did, because as much as I loved it, I thought that maybe it would get Best Sound Design, Best Effects.
Right.
But Best Picture, Best Director, those are like some of the big ones.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
And I should make a little callback to one of our earlier segments from the previous podcast, because a lot has happened, but in addition to me being hospitalized before, George Miller had seemed to say that he was going to try to do it, but first he wanted to do something else. And then literally the following week, he was out there saying, I don't want to make another Mad Max movie. They're too tiring. They're too much work.
Yeah.
Which he does so much practical effects in it. You can see why that would be the case.
Where are you at?
But now that you've got, like I was predicting, I was saying, maybe, if it gets a couple of big noms, that he'll be interested in, pushing this ahead on his schedule or doing it. And seeing he's up for the big one, even he probably thinks, I'm not going to get this, but it's nice that they thought my work was great.
Honored just to be nominated.
It's an honor just to nominate, be out, smile.
Yeah.
Smile and congratulate the winner. Honored to be nominated.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But not to get too sidetracked on that. I do hope it means that we get more Mad Max, but
that the things that really, obviously, the things we talked about, but that Star Wars didn't get nominated for more.
Star Wars should have gotten nominated.
Really
got,
and
I don't just say that as a fan. Because I say that because...
But it got really great reviews. Like, the critics really loved it. I thought that it was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
On the face of it. It had some good performances in it.
I really feel like... I'm looking at the best actor list. I really feel like... and not just, again, as a fanboy, but I feel like Harrison Ford should have been nominated for Han Solo.
For Best Supporting Actor?
For Best Supporting Actor. Rather than like either Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs and Steve Jobs.
That's Best Actor.
That's Best Actor, but okay.
He's got to be supporting.
He would have been supporting. Who would I take off this list? I probably would either be Christian Bale or Tom. Well, maybe not Tom Hardy. I like Tom Hardy. Yeah, Christian Bale and Mark Ruffalo. Ruffalo is how it is.
I don't know. And that's the thing is like trying to fit everybody in. Which, yeah. But that one, I
would have taken, Christian Bale I would have taken off the list because I've heard, yes, Big Short is nice and all, but it seems like, just knowing what I know about the movie, and we'll talk more about this in our Oscar special, but knowing what I know about The Big Short, it just seems too much of like a, I don't want to say Oscar pandering, but it seems too much like a safe one.
Right, it's like the safe pick.
Like it's a safe, okay, we need to nominate 5 people for the award. Okay, and Christian Bale for Big Short to fill up this 5th slot. Not because I think Christian Bale isn't a good actor, but because it seems more like your safe pick because of the kind of movie The Big Short was. Again, we could expound on that later, but I would have liked to have seen Solo on this list. I mean, Harrison Ford.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen him up for that.
Right, yeah, and I agree, it would have been great. Especially since knowing how much he hates the character.
To
see him nominated for an Academy Award for the character that he never wanted to play again would be just kind of amusing on the face of it.
Yes, it would have. It really would have, and it would have been great.
The one other really surprising one for me is one of the other billion-dollar movies that we mentioned before, Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, yeah.
Nothing
at all.
No visual effects, no sound design.
Yeah.
Got costumes, maybe? Nothing.
I would have thought effects...
It got nominated for nothing.
I would have thought effects and a couple of the sound awards.
Yeah, like sound design and effects.
Because the music...
You should at least get that for that.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it for the music because a lot of it is just reprises of the original theme.
Right.
Which already got a nomination. I might have actually won an award, I think. I'm not sure what it was up against, but I'm pretty sure.
No, I think John Williams won.
By
the way, he's nominated again for...
I was going to say, he's nominated again for Star Wars.
For Star Wars, again.
As well he should be.
And he'll probably win.
He'll probably win this time around since last time he was up against Chariots of Fire. Or no, that was the Indiana Jones theme of his.
Yes.
I don't know.
The Raiders March.
The Raiders March. But, more commonly, it's the Indy theme. But
yes.
But him being up for the Star Wars Force Awakens sound.
Right, well, he's the most nominated person in history.
Yeah.
So,
oh, really? John Williams?
Really, John Williams, yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, seeing the bevy of his work.
Yeah, pretty much wrote all of the soundtracks.
All the soundtrack. Like, it was either him or James Horner, or there's only like one other person that comes. So it's like him, James Horner, and
Danny Elfman.
What was like maybe a fourth? I can think of 4 people, and like the third escapes me. But the fourth is always
John Barry.
No.
John Barry wrote Out of Africa.
Yeah, anyway.
The Black Stallion.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen him.
Wrote the scores for like the first half of the James Bond series.
Okay, that's somewhat remarkable. Anyway, back to the list. It's I don't know. The rest of the list seems like safe picks to me. What you see on, at least
what you would expect.
Kind of what you would expect.
Yeah, and you kind of got a lot of, oh yeah, I kind of expected that.
Yeah. I don't think there are any real surprises. I'm happy to see Sly Stallone up for Best Supporting Actor for Creed. I've heard nothing but praise for this film, and which is another thing that is kind of a shocker. I'm surprised that he wasn't nominated for Best Director, because there are people that said that the directing on that was fantastic, and that Creed wasn't nominated for Best Picture. Again, the fact that they had 2 extra slots. I mean, there was jokes before about how Like, oh, we have 10 slots. Now they're just going to put whatever. The fact that they're, like, still snubbing films even when they have, like, 2 extra slots, it's just crazy to me. It's just like...
And you couldn't fit in Straight Outta Compton, couldn't fit in Creed.
Couldn't fit in Jurassic World.
Couldn't fit in Jurassic World, couldn't fit in Star Wars.
It's like they put in Mad Max and said, okay, we put in our one for the public.
Right.
There's your bone, people. I hope you enjoy The Big Short or Spotlight or Room. It's just...
Yeah, it's like they expanded it to try and put in more films that the general public would be interested in, to try and maybe drive viewership, maybe get some people interested in the Oscars. But really, people haven't paid attention to the Oscars since Titanic won.
Yeah, it's been dwindling, and I'll say that the last time besides us doing the podcast now and trying to keep tabs on these things, the last time I was really truly interested was back in 2004 when Return of the King swept everything that it was nominated for, and that's kind of what I was hoping for, and I almost feel like that's the last time that I or anybody I knew in my circle of movie friends had like I want to say vested interest, but had like an enthusiastic interest in seeing the awards. But I don't know what the heck they've been doing for the past decade and a half, but it just seems all wrong. I mean, they can't even get their freaking site to be user-friendly.
Oh, no.
Well, Lunchbox and I were talking here a minute ago about how you go to the Oscar website, and it's like you have a trailer and a poster right before each nomination and actor and whatnot to get their due, but it makes the whole freaking site so unbelievably clunky that my first instinct is to click away and find somebody else who has just like, I just need the words. I
just need a list.
I need the words, text on screen, that's all I need. I understand you're the Academy and you want to have a little bit more pomp to it, but for crying out loud, have you ever heard of hot links? Thank you.
Right.
You know, if you really want, like, watch the trailer here.
Yeah.
Done. It's
just too much.
It was too much.
It's poorly designed website.
Poorly designed website, which is just, I don't know, maybe there's some deeper meaning in that. Okay. I guess before we wrap up talking about the Oscar 2016 noms, and remember
our brief intro
here, because we're going to have like a much longer
much longer,
because we're all about movies here, mostly about movies. You know, I almost don't want to talk about it because it's been talked about to death, but you want to start it off?
Oscars so white.
Oscars so white hashtag. I just...
Right, well, and you know, you get kind of people on both sides. You know, you get people saying, you know, you get the black people essentially saying that, why didn't you nominate more black people? And then white people saying, well, you should have made more Oscar movies.
And should have pandered more.
Right, and exactly. I think that's what it comes down to more than anything else, is that there weren't a whole lot of movies that were Oscar pander worthy that starred black people. Now, I understand from, you know, the perspective of, you know, saying, hey, you know, make Oscar pander movies and you get Oscar nominations.
Pander to us, kiss our feet.
Right, exactly. But also, I understand that not a whole lot of the roles in the Oscar pander movies are black roles. So I think that the problem is not so much that Oscars aren't nominating black people. I think it's that Oscar movies don't have black roles or prominent black roles in them.
No,
you know, it's just like you don't see a whole lot of Oscar pander movies that have Asians in them.
That's true.
You know, it's just kind of the way that the movie system is built up.
Yeah.
Is that the Oscar pander movies are white people movies. You know, you're not going to have black people starring in Downton Abbey. You know, it's just kind of...
It's not Downtown Abbey? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, it's you aren't going to have that. And it is a little bit of a surprise, I will say, that the Samuel L. Jackson wasn't nominated for Hateful Eight.
Right,
but
and Hateful Eight kind of got snubbed a bit too. The
Hateful
only
Eight
one
got
that was
snubbed,
nominated,
but
the only actor that was nominated was Jennifer Jason Leigh.
I think that was a strategic snubbing on their part because of Quentin Tarantino's involvement in the, well, not I want to say his involvement in Black Lives Matter, but his coming out and saying, basically, I hate cops kind of thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't help, and I'm sure the Oscars have to know their bleeding viewership. I mean, they maybe do stupid things, but they're not blind.
Right.
So maybe the safe bet was to throw a nomination to one person, Jennifer Jason Leigh, which honestly, she doesn't have that much screen time, so I was surprised to see her nominated. I could see why they wouldn't nominate Samuel L. Jackson, because, as I mentioned in my previous rewrite review, there's just like a little too much Tarantino-ish about the film and not enough Western. And I feel like if Samuel L. Jackson's character had been like leaning a little bit over the line into Western territory more rather than Quentin Tarantino territory, that he probably would have been nominated despite Tarantino's buffoonery of like saying I hate cops.
Right.
Or I know he didn't say that per se, but basically
not literally.
Not literally, but dissing cops in general. But that's the general drift.
Right.
But I think that they would have overlooked that and given him a nom. I'm surprised that even if, like, you want to say the acting wasn't that tight on Straight Outta Compton, that it wasn't nominated for Best Picture, at least.
Yeah,
as a throwaway.
Picture. Directing, maybe cinematography.
Maybe, I don't know about, maybe cinematography, because I saw some of the stage shots of them up there and recreating that. But when you think cinematography, let's be honest, you think of horses running through snow.
Right, you think of Hateful Eight.
You think of Hateful Eight. You think of outdoor scenes, really. You want to see a panorama view of mountains covered in snow or grassy green fields or something. You think of...
like these giant, epic,
You think of those sweeping shots of nature. And you're like, oh my gosh, it feels like I'm actually there. This looks so beautiful. And it's so New Zealand.
Yeah.
You think of things like that. But... I guess, and also, Will Smith is boycotting the Oscars too because of it. It's just like, you're just upset because you didn't get nominated. Which, honestly, again, it goes...
Fair enough.
I saw that, again, having seen the trailers for Concussion and knowing the history that's behind it, one, I could see why the film itself wasn't nominated for anything because it's... They don't want to get political, forget it. It's just... There's a lot going behind it that makes it something that they probably wouldn't want to touch. And two, as I said before, it is so hard to see Will Smith doing something other than being Will Smith. And I hate to say that of him because I love his action stuff. I absolutely love it. I think that he's every bit as awesome.
But did you see Focus? I thought he was really good in Focus. I haven't seen
Focus. I know some of his earlier work too. Like, what was it that he was in?
6 Degrees of Separation.
Thank you. That's it. That was before he had developed the Will Smith persona.
Right, and he kind of gets that thrust upon him too in a lot of
he kind of does, which I'm that's Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But that aside, I'm just kind of like, you know what? I'm really sorry to break it to you. You're never gonna be. It sounds so harsh, but I just think that's how it is. That I don't think I can ever see him getting nominated for something.
Yeah. Because
he's too and Pursuit of Happiness. Isn't that
right?
Too?
Yeah,
but it's too hard. But at least he wasn't affecting an accent in that.
Right.
That might have been part of the problem too. He's just been too. I like him as an action star. I just don't know if he has much range beyond that, or if it's just been.
He really does. It's just some of the scripts don't work.
Some of the scripts don't work.
I think that he really does have the range. I think he has the ability to do it. I think that he just isn't given the opportunity. It's like when you finally saw Jim Carrey finally do dramatic stuff. You went, oh wow, this kid can act. He knows what he's doing.
But he just makes poor choices. That past Truman Show,
Right. Yeah, and there were just few, but the Truman Show he definitely should have gotten nominated for.
He should have gotten nominated.
Truman Show was incredible, and he was great at it.
Yeah, but it just getting back to the Oscars so white thing. It's just. Yeah, I'm sorry, Will Smith. You're so indelibly in the public eye that you are Will Smith forever and ever, which it isn't such a bad thing. I mean, every time Bruce Willis shows up on screen, whatever he's doing, it's Bruce Willis, and I don't. Not that I think that he doesn't have acting range, but I'm just waiting for him to pick up a gun, pop off bad guys, and shoot off one-liners, and I'm perfectly happy with you doing that in films too. And I don't think that's any kind of...
No, there's not a knock. It's just...
It's not a knock, it's just...
kind of the way that, we kind of see you at this point. Although, really, I don't think he's full Tom Hanks, is it?
I don't think he full... Maybe not full
I think that he has far greater range than Tom Hanks does of becoming a character.
Yeah.
So, I think that would be believable. And I don't think that,
he just doesn't do a good accent.
I think that Will Smith probably ended up boycotting it because Jada decided that she wanted to boycott it. And now he gets all dragged into this. Spike Lee, of course, he is going to jump onto the Oscar So White bandwagon. But then you have Ice Cube comes out and says, well, I never went to the Oscars before, so you can't really boycott something you never went to.
Yeah. It's
like, I just really, we make the movies for the fans, for the people. Everybody seemed to like our movie. So
I'll go home and cry my big pile of money. It's like, oh, I don't get a little shiny, tin-covered trophy.
Let me wipe away my tears with this $100 bill.
Yeah. I gotta be so sad I won't have that little trophy on the shelf. Yeah. And truly, I mean, honestly, if you said, would you take the big stack of cash or the little, trophy? It's like, how much is that little big old stack of cash? Yeah. Straight Outta Compton is not going to have a sequel. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's not a sequel movie. But I'm sure you're
gonna have a spinoff.
You're gonna have a spinoff. But I'm sure the people involved are like, well, not all of them, but some are like, yeah, I've got money, so okay,
yeah, I'm good.
And truly, people calling for a boycott, I don't know if Hollywood/Oscar people are scared or worried about it or not, but honestly,
Chris Rock is hosting.
But,
you're like, really? That was my big one, was Oscars So White, Chris Rock is hosting. You're like, wait.
I don't
Does not compute. Does not compute.
I just don't like Chris Rock as a comedian. If it was Chris Tucker up there, I'd watch it. I'd still watch it because
I think Chris Rock is funny, but at the same time, it's not that point of whether or not Chris Rock is funny. It's that you have a black guy hosting the Oscars. Oscars So White. They got a black guy to host.
I honestly don't see... I can't remember the actual quote, but there's that whole thing about so I'm supposed to feel bad for millionaires not getting nominated for a little tin trophy. Mm-hmm. How am I, I'm sorry, I cannot emotionally connect the dots for you to feel bad enough to boycott a show that is already facing severe decline in viewership all on its own without alienating a certain percentage of the populace, possibly. And besides which, it's okay, so they didn't nominate anybody this year. Who cares? This comes around every year. There's the Golden Globes. There's so many awards out there that there's
But the Academy Award is the award. It's the award. It's the one that you really need to get.
And it's just okay, so...
Because you need to be in the same company as 3-6 Mafia.
It's... I just... Again, I have a hard time getting all ginned up for it because it's...
Academy Award winners, 3-6 Mafia.
Because it's just... It's okay...
For the song, It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp.
It's... I just...
Really? I mean, come on. How seriously am I supposed to take this?
Am I supposed to feel... Yeah, am I supposed to feel...
They nominated Blame Canada from South Park.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, how prestigious is this award anymore?
True.
Although that was a good song.
It was a funny song and a very unique song, but yes. And that... Yeah, I'm sorry that I cannot feel a bigger amount of pity or sympathy or whatever it is that
it's an award show
that I'm supposed to feel for people who didn't get an award. And it's and if somebody did say...
These people have the easiest job on the planet and they didn't get a special award for it. Well, guess what? I don't get special awards on my job.
Yeah, I'm sorry. and I just... And what would you want?
They definitely wouldn't broadcast it on TV if I did.
Yeah, and would you want a token actor nominated anyway? I mean, seriously, doesn't that devalue the award in itself, too?
Right.
If suddenly the Academy said, okay, we're taking it away from Christian Bale and we're going to throw Samuel L. Jackson, do you think he'd like that? Do you think he'd say, oh, thank you for finally recognizing me? Or do you think he'd say, no, I don't want your Penny Annie Award
Right.
or your attempt at pity? And it's just like, I don't know. The whole thing boggles my mind. You have one of the best jobs on the planet, and crying about it because you don't get a trophy on top of it, too. It's like, I'll try. Maybe before the awards ceremony, I'll have a change of heart and suddenly understand where they're coming from. But it's hard when you have an entire hashtag movement and people everywhere complaining about it to say, we don't get noticed.
Right.
It's like, anyway.
But you've digressed long enough.
I've digressed long
Make
enough.
sure to tune into our special Academy Award show.
Please. Hopefully I haven't alienated too many of you. If I have, I don't apologize.
I promise I'll try and keep Jester from going off on his political correctness.
Yeah. Because I'm all PC like that. Alrighty, so here's the part of the podcast I've been kind of dreading, actually, because, well, it's rough. You know, like, screw you, 2016. You've been pretty piss poor as far as I'm concerned so far. Last week, Alan Rickman passed away. Actually, was it a week ago? A little over a week ago now, but yeah, we lose Alan Rickman, and it just,
Yep.
I don't know, as you say, one of the greatest character actors, one of the greatest presence you've seen on film recently. Not just having a great body of work in the Harry Potter films, and obviously making an indelible mark as Severus Snape. I mean, there are people who are still upset that he didn't get nominated for Best Supporting Actor back when the last film came out, and he did do a pretty good tour de force in that film.
Yeah.
And apparently was given inside info by J.K. Rowling herself on how to play the character, and she gave him all sorts of spoilers way ahead, even before she had finished the series, on how he should be doing things and how he should be acting the part out, which I think that's fantastic, honestly,
right.
Because I'm sure that makes the role even more nuanced. But before even he was Severus Snape, he was, to most of us also, he was Hans Gruber.
He is Hans Gruber.
One of the best.
One of the top villains of all time.
Yeah. One of the first villains where you actually see carry out a threat, right? You know, just
Right,
like act on the threat, not just like we all talk, but he actually like kills one of the hostages in Die Hard. You know,
Yeah.
in case you didn't know where Hans Gruber was from, go smack yourself immediately several times. Go watch the movie and then come back.
We'll wait.
We'll wait. We'll be here when you come back. Properly penitent for not having already watched one of the greatest action movies of all time. But yeah, the scene in Die Hard where he sits there and he counts down, you know, and he says, then the other guy says, well, you're just going to have to shoot me. And he, boom. And he does it just so, like, he sits there and, like, the look on his face and everything, the way he delivers the next line of Mr. Nakatomi will not be joining us for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You know, is great. The American accent he affects when he runs in.
No, you're one of them, aren't you?
Yeah, it's just great. And
it's hard to believe that was his theatrical debut.
That was his big screen debut.
We just know him so well from everything, like so many movies that he's done.
By Graf Samurai, you're right. He's been in so much.
So many great roles, and that he just kind of took over and owned, and you couldn't imagine anybody else playing those roles. You know, the Angel and Dogma. You know, of course, you know, Galaxy Quest.
Yeah,
but it's hard to believe that his theatrical debut was at the age of 41 in Die Hard. Die Hard was his theatrical debut. Nobody had heard of Alan Rickman before he played Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't cast some, like, super huge name as the evil guy. They just cast a character actor. Or a guy that was just starting out his career, basically.
Yeah.
like he'd done some TV, some British TV before then. He'd worked on the stage quite a bit before that in England.
Yeah.
And had gained a small amount of prominence there. But the first time that he appeared in a movie was as Hans Gruber.
Yes.
Like, what a debut. That is, I mean, like, to have one of the iconic roles in cinema as your debut film role just speaks to what talent he had as an actor.
Yes. And there's a couple of things I had wanted to mention about Die Hard also. It's that, like, that had surprised me to learn as I was reading about it was that he was the actual one that did the stunt, the fall there at the end. Like,
yeah.
Well, they have, like, the cutaway. They have two shots, you know. The one that's, like, a bigger drop, which is a different stuntman, and then they have, like, the one that, as he's falling off, that with the shocked expression is actually him shocked because they dropped him, like, a few seconds before they said they would, so the director could get, like, a real look of surprise on his face. But, you know, that it was, like, off of a 20-foot model of the Nakatomi building. So the look of the expression of surprise is real, and the fact that that's actually him, like, it's his first film. He's, like, plays this hugely memorable villain, and he does his own stunt in the movie. You know, like, and that, I think even back then, that was probably unheard of like, one of the big stars of the film doing their own stunts, beyond, like, a couple basic tuck and rolls, you know.
Right.
Hey, we're talking, like, the jump through the window.
Like getting thrown off of a building?
Thrown off of a building, that's Jackie Chan, I should say, territory right there. I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. That makes him even more awesome in my eyes, but it's honestly hard to believe he's gone. 69 of cancer, and not that you expect him to, like, live on forever and ever, but I guess because he almost has kind of looked the same for years and years, it's hard to believe that he was almost...
You know, 30 years after Die Hard.
30 years almost after Die Hard, and he looks almost the same, and if you, like, the Harry Potter movies were, like, I don't know how many years apart from the first one to the last one. He looks almost the same in the beginning as he does in the end. And that's got to be like a good decade plus of film.
Witchcraft. I swear it's witchcraft.
Witchcraft. No, he was a potions master. So.
Oh, yeah.
He
mixed himself up something special in the back room.
Yeah, and God, it isn't just hard to believe that he's gone. It's hard because it was one of these ones that was surprising.
Yeah.
That you know, there are other actors. When Sir Christopher Lee, passed away last year, it was very saddening. Still is, but not totally unexpected because he was like 90-something.
You're right.
So you're like, okay, he had reached ancienthood.
Yeah.
You know?
Like he was old enough where we start to kind of go, okay, well, yeah, probably pretty soon.
Probably sometime soon, and then he lives like another 5 years.
Yeah.
So the fact that Alan Rickman passed
kind of one of the, like, you wouldn't have had Alan Rickman in your death pool.
No, as morbid as that sounds, it is also true. You didn't expect him to go, and it's hard because he's one of these actors that even though a film around him could be lackluster, you enjoy just the segments with him.
Right.
Like, I never liked Love Actually, which was billed as a Christmas movie just because it took place around Christmas time. And
I liked Love Actually.
I didn't like it, but I loved the stuff with Rickman in it because he was great. Rickman was great in it, and the scenes between him and I can't remember his real name, Mr. Bean.
Rowan Atkinson.
Thank you, Rowan Atkinson. And he goes up to, like, subversively buy this thing for this mistress he has on the side or whatever.
Yeah.
And the interplay between him and Rowan Atkinson is great, and just his facial expressions are always so awesome. And I don't know what else to say about him other than
and moving from the stage
to the big
film
screen
is such a hard transition.
Yes.
Because you have to play things so different.
Yes.
Than you do. Like, on the stage, it's big and wild. You've got to make sure the back row knows what's going on. And on film, they got a tight close-up on you. And you've got to make that subtle.
Yes.
And it is like exactly the opposite. And being able to do both is an incredible achievement.
It is an incredible achievement, an incredible talent too. There's like these, there's like joking comments and such all around the web that aren't mean spirited, but belie how much people really enjoyed his stuff. I've seen variations on the turn to page 394 line, which I think of when you say those close-ups and whatnot, because I had kind of a close-up on Alan Rickman's face as he leans in towards I was going to say Harry Potter. I can't remember his real name. Sorry, boy.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Thank you, Daniel Radcliffe, who unfortunately is always going to be Harry Potter. But leaning into him and saying, and just the subtle facial expressions, it's probably why that's being memeified right now. It's because it's a great...
Because it is. Because he gets that little subtle look that just kind of sells everything.
That sells everything about the scene. And it's going to sound goofy, but the lip movements, too, of just the way he, like, enunciates for. They're just, like, that little condescension, that dripping sarcasm that he always sold so well in his characters. Of just like...
He always seems like he thinks that you are far beneath him.
Yeah. But, you see interviews...
You barely deserve my respect.
I can't believe I'm breathing the same air as you, kind of thing. And he... you see interviews with him, and he doesn't come across. He seems like a genuinely fun and affable guy. Maybe not like quirky, but
not really. He's not actually that person.
He's not actually that person in real life. He's not actually Snape, although God love him, he so much looked the part, like he just popped right out of the book. But
straight from Central Casting.
Straight from Central Casting is Alan Rickman as Severus Snape, and by golly, he did deserve an award for that or something. There's a bevy of films he's been in, from Galaxy Quest, obviously the Harry Potter movies, obviously Die Hard, and there's also great ones like Bottle Shock, which kind of like I want to say not biographical, semi-historical, loosely based on...
It's based on a true story.
Based on a true story, which take that for what you will in Hollywood.
Right.
From the same people that brought you Senka Cafe as part of the Cool Runnings team. But yeah, it's hard when somebody like him passes, because you don't see it coming, and you forever are thinking of roles that he could have and should have been in, and I'm sure for many years to come we'll be thinking like, wow, if only Alan Rickman was here to play that part, because he could have sold it a bit better.
Could have killed that.
He could have nailed that. So happy trails, Hans. I think one of the best quotes I've heard about the passing of Alan Rickman was one that you had said earlier.
Yeah. Which
bleeds into our next decidedly unwelcome subject.
Yeah.
Which is the passing of David Bowie. And that quote was, what was it?
Alan Rickman is now at a very exclusive David Bowie concert.
Yeah, so now we're talking about David Bowie passing away. That just... sucks. That just kind of is
an alien. He cannot pass away.
Rock gods do not die. They simply ascend to a higher stage. I was just like, so there I am surfing the web at like 1 a.m. saying, okay, I've written my article because I run a video game blog as well. I'm gonna go to bed, and why is David Bowie trending? Wait, what? And you look, and holy crap, David Bowie's no, this is kind of one of those internet hoax. This is a Twitter hoax. You next thing you know, you're up for 3 hours, like just in utter shock and somewhat devastated, because I say somewhat lightly, because David Bowie's gone. It's just like
you just can't even believe it.
Yeah, hard time believing
you just put under pressure on
endless loop. Either Under Pressure or Ziggy Stardust or God, any one of his... I mean, I know we usually talk movies here, and we'll be talking a little later about Labyrinth, but for crying out loud, like, how do you not talk about David Bowie passing?
No.
Because...
Bowie, I just, like, the legend that is Bowie.
Yeah.
And played with everybody from Bing Crosby to Queen. You know, it's just... And every single person just... Iggy Pop, like, one of his, like, made...
One of his good friends,
yeah, they actually made the 2 albums that Iggy Pop made with Bowie are his 2 biggest albums.
Yeah.
Like, Bowie was legend. Is legend.
Bowie is legend.
You cannot refer to Bowie in the past tense.
I was going to say, there's for those of you who are interested, there are a couple of petitions out there that, protesting the passing of David Bowie. And it's just too incredible to say because it's so weird. You think of, like, he did do a few films in addition to Labyrinth. He was
Man Who Fell to Earth.
Man Who Fell to Earth. He was Tesla in the Prestige.
Fabulous performance.
And it's
and of course Jareth.
And of course Jareth, the Goblin King himself in Labyrinth. Yes, but it's like one of those things where whenever you see him pop up in a movie, you're like, holy crap, that's David Bowie. That's David Bowie.
That's David Bowie.
And it does. It only.
How did they get him?
How did they get him? Yeah. It doesn't.
How did they get Bowie to be in their movie?
Yeah, really. And it was never one of those things where you're sitting there saying, wait, what? Like, oh, this throws me off. David Bowie's in this. It's like, how did they get him to be in this?
Right.
He's too awesome to be contained.
Yeah. There's just so much in there.
Yeah, it's incredible. I keep on using that word because he was and
is.
If you get a chance, go out and buy his new album Black Star. I bought it myself and it's great. There's a couple of really great cinematic videos that he has done for the album, which if you haven't seen the Black Star and you haven't seen Lazarus, go out and watch them right now. Not only will they make you well up and ball big old tears, but they
curl up into fetal position and weep for the rest of your life.
Yeah, really.
Listening to Black Star. Because that's what's going to happen.
Yes. It's like one last little thing for the fans, one last little gift, as they put it. It's phenomenal to think that he kept it so close to the chest that nobody, not even a lot of people who were really cllose to him, knew that this was coming.
That he was sick. Like,
that he was sick.
A lot of people didn't even know he was sick. Had to be. I mean, he had cancer. He had to be in incredible pain.
Yeah.
And dealing with this.
Yeah. Speaking from personal experience, found out that he died that he had passed on to another plane from liver cancer, which, being a survivor of that, it just amazes me that he could have covered that up, that he could have kept that from anybody.
That people didn't know. Like the tremendous amount of pain and what he had to be dealing with, and to not let on to people. Obviously, he's an alien from Mars.
Obviously,
he just transcended to another plane.
Every bit the rock god that you think that he is. Because that is just that he would be able to hide that from people. It's a real tribute to him and to his. Again, if you see the 2 videos that he's done for Black Star, it's a tribute to what kind of artist he is. That he's got these things that even in passing that he is like a consummate artist to the end. And so often we use that in. Not just in negative derogatory word. Oh, he's an artist, an artiste.
Yeah,
he performance art. Paint my nose with these different colors and experience.
But just and constantly reinventing himself and doing so many different styles of music.
Always succeeding
rock,
at it.
To disco, to glam rock, to just some really deep, poignant pop kind of stuff that he did. I mean, Cactus is probably one of my favorite albums.
Yeah.
I loved Cactus. Came out right after 9/11, and everybody said, how did he know? It is just such this deep, mournful thing about it. And everybody was listening to that on repeat of how did he know that this was going to happen? He kind of predicted the future. Yes, with his alien technology. Because he's an alien. He's Ziggy Stardust forever.
Ziggy Stardust. And he just... I watching through some of his other videos just last night of Valentine's Day. Great song. Really well done video. This I know he had to have had some hands-on experience with the directing of it. I mean, you don't just hire directors. I mean, not when you're David Bowie. So.
Right. Not Bowie.
Not Bowie. And, you know, I mean, we could go on and on about his work. Neither of us, well, maybe Lunchbox more than me, but are really tongue-tied. Music aficionados, but knowing that somebody of his caliber that you wouldn't have expected to be gone, somebody who just always expected to be there. I mean, and like truly, okay, we are saddened by Alan Rickman's passing, but it does sound stupid.
But still, you knew that Alan Rickman was human.
You
did not believe that about David Bowie.
You did not believe that about David Bowie.
It sounds so weird
to
say
weird
out loud, but you couldn't quite believe that he was an actual person. You know, he was is Ziggy Stardust. You know?
Yeah.
Like, there's something about him that...
The man was the mystique. He was every bit what you would have expected him to be. I've also watched interviews with him. Now, I don't totally agree with his philosophizing, but of him just on philosophy, his ideas on life in general and such. This guy wasn't just like, you know, dispensing albums that were phenomenal, but he was also like very, very learned, very well read, and very intellectual, and very, you know, he's everything that you could possibly want David Bowie to have been. He was, which is it's crazy. Like the night.
It's just all through it, and that's listening to the various podcasts. Somebody had done a quote of David Bowie. Who said, I'm not a chameleon. A chameleon changes to blend in.
Yeah.
And he did exactly the opposite.
I was going to say.
Always throughout his career.
Always throughout his career. He's changing. Wasn't blending in. It was like, what is he doing next?
He's doing something different than what's going around. And you listen to anything that he ever did, and it's different. Yeah. And so changing and so disruptive to the music scene that everybody has to turn around and look.
Yes.
And yeah.
It's
hard to believe that he has passed to another realm, but everyone should just remember. Never refer to Bowie in the past tense.
That's right.
David Bowie never was. David Bowie is.
Yes. Time now for TGFV, Thank God for Video, portion of the program where we talk about movies that you should go pick up on Blu-ray, DVD, streaming, or run down to your nearest Blockbuster if it hasn't already closed forever and ever. So this week, obviously, I had to do a little bit of a tribute to David Bowie. I wanted to do Alan Rickman as well, but I couldn't find Bottle Shock, unfortunately, at the video store where I work, but I'll probably be downloading it later myself. Anyway, Labyrinth. For all it's worth, Labyrinth is such an awesome movie, and if you probably haven't already watched it half a dozen times, well, here's your excuse to watch it like a full baker's dozen, because it is every bit as awesome now as it was back in the 80s. And yeah, it's totally...
Really? Does it hold up?
Yeah, it is all about Bowie, but it still holds up. Right. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, looking at the film, okay, you've got Jennifer Connelly, and she's only like 14. You've got David Bowie, the immortal, and you sit there, and David Bowie is the Goblin King. What a fantastic choice, okay? Right. There's no denying. Years later, people say, oh, it's a goofy 80s camp. But it's like, no, you could not have asked anybody else to play such an over-the-top role, but do it with so much goofy prestige in a way, and bring it...
panache
with
that he brings to
with
it.
a total panache. And I don't want to just talk about Bowie, although I could if I wanted to just make this entirely another like 20-minute long Bowie praise segment. But yes, it is about the quote-unquote gravitas and panache that he brings.
There's some
to
style that he brings to being Jareth.
Jareth the Goblin King, yes. And it's not just that. It is the amazing, I hate to use the P word, puppetry of the Jim Muppetry. There we go. You said the P word. Ah! Great, fantastic. If you've never seen the behind the scenes Jim Henson workshop, I recommend that as well. Anyway, the fantastic Muppetry and wizardry of Jim Henson's Muppet Shop is in all its glory. Practical effects up the wazoo in that film, and that's also a part of what
pretty
sells
much
it.
all practical effects.
I was going to say, I'm trying to think if there's any kind of. There isn't really, unless you count the kind of dream sequence portion where there's kind of...
Oh, right, where they're walking through the Escher painting.
Yeah.
At the end, there's some visual effects.
There's some visual effects there, but also done in such a way that makes you feel like it's got to be practical.
Right.
There's some great turns there where they have, like, David Bowie come up from underneath of her and flip up sideways.
Yeah.
Like so he's on the same level of the Escher thing that they still look great today. And you're just like... Did they have him? They must have had him on some sort of rig, because there's a little bit of stiffness in it, but it still looks like semi-stiff, but semi-natural. The way he comes around and in that weird Escher-esque kind of ending there. But also the owl that he transforms into is also CG. Very crude 80s CG, and that's probably the only part that doesn't hold up to this day.
Right.
But the rest of it. You really don't get films like that anymore, and people try to tell you, oh, it's because it's too campy or too cheesy, or people wouldn't go for it, but I think it's that they're too scared to try to take that level of commitment into making a family adventure film where not only is there a lot of practical effects and where you aren't doing animation to bring a world to life, but you're relying heavily on practical sets, on things that are physically there, to make you believe in this world, to make you believe in the labyrinth as an actual thing that Jennifer Connelly's character of Sarah is going through. Yeah. And all credit to them, the set makers and everything too, because you really believe in this place. You really believe in this world. You really believe that one of the various regenerations that Bowie had was as Gareth the Goblin King. It's everything. Yes, David Bowie does play a large factor in that because having composed a good chunk of the soundtrack, not all, because you had the instrumental sections, but having composed these songs for it.
You remind me of a man.
Yeah, the Dance Magic, obviously, that people know, but there's also the Fiery song with the weird, creepy, kind of gremlin-ish creatures. There's the very kind of odd, when you look at it, possibly inappropriate song that he's singing to her in the dream sequence.
Yes.
It's because we are talking about a full-grown man and a 14-year-old. And I almost don't want to talk about it, but everybody has to mention I
have a great story about that.
Okay, why don't you tell the story about it, because I have a hard time saying it. But go ahead and tell the real story.
Because it's not what you think it is.
It's not what you think it is. And I found that out years ago, but I was just like, oh, really? Thank God.
So Michael Motion, MacArthur Genius Grant Award winner, does all of the contact juggling.
All that fantastic contact.
Fantastic contact juggling. But in order to do that and make it look like Bowie was doing it, he had to be smashed right up against Bowie's behind.
Yep.
And it was hot on the set, and Bowie didn't think that Michael should be subjected to any kind of emanations. Yeah. So he asked one of the PAs to get him a satchel of potpourri, which he then dropped down the front of his tights in order to alleviate any smells that might have been emanating.
Yes.
The director thought that the look was so hilarious, he decided that Bowie should keep that in for the entire film, which is why...
You get the infamous...
wow factor.
As it's known, Bowie bulge.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's...
But the story behind it is so much better than, oh, he was wearing a giant codpiece. You know, or something like that, you know? Yeah. It's just like the story behind it was just so great.
It's a family picture, you know, for the kids.
But when I heard that, I thought that was great. It was entirely for Michael Motion's benefit, originally.
Yes.
And then the director thought, hey, that was funny. Let's keep that in.
Which, yeah, again...
In our family picture.
In our family picture. For the whole kid, for all the kids, you know, for kids.
Yeah, for kids.
Yeah, so there's that.
You just can't help looking at it.
You can't...
Your eyes are drawn to it.
Dance,
anyway.
Yeah, dance magic.
You remind me of a man.
Yeah, before we get totally sidetracked, if you don't already own it, go out and pick it up, especially like the special edition, because you'll see all sorts of great behind-the-scenes stuff with not only Bowie, but Connolly, and the beloved Jim Henson as well. And
Hoggle.
And Hoggle. You know, it's a great little film, and no matter what people say about it not holding up, it does hold up when you compare it to a whole slew of supposed family films that have come out over the past decade. Yeah.
And we'll have to see if they actually end up deciding to make that
remake,
reboot, or
whatever,
sequel,
or
depending
prequel.
on who you're talking to and what kind of rumors you want to listen to.
Yeah.
Either remake or sequel.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Keep it.
Keep it the way it is. It's perfect. Yeah. Right. And for Lunchbox's, recommendation, what do you have for TGFV?
I finally watched Straight Outta Compton. And yes, it is as good as people say. It really is. It's so great, and I loved seeing the story of the rise of NWA. And kind of, it really informs the decisions that they made, why they wrote F the Police, and their relationship with Jerry Heller, especially Eazy-E's relationship with Jerry Heller, and why Cube left the group. It's kind of, it's really interesting story. Large part of me wishes that it would have been much longer, because I would have loved to see the depth into it. Part of me wishes that it would have been unauthorized rather than made by Dre, Ice Cube, and Eazy-E's widow, because they kind of whitewash. Don't even know if that's the right term there, but they kind of gloss over a lot of their
more salacious activities.
More salacious activities, and Dre beating up a reporter because he didn't like what she had to say about him. Things like that are easily glossed over and skipped over in the movie, and would have been interesting to have in there, but then it would have been a mini-series because it's already about 2.5 hours long, and so you either go that route or you cut everything down and you just have little snippets of them meeting at the beginning and then cut right to the chase when they start to become NWA. And you could have cut it down to about 2 hours if you didn't have so much lead up to who they are, but then you wouldn't have known who they are. It's really... I have to say, okay, so I think Jason Mitchell, the guy that plays Eazy-E, Eric Wright, incredible performance. Definitely should have gotten nominated for an Academy Award. I know that a lot of people say that O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, obviously, plays Ice Cube in the movie, and does an incredible job. Really, I think that the reason that O'Shea wasn't nominated for an Academy Award is because everybody thought that it actually was Ice Cube, and they just did that de-aging thing. Because he looks exactly like him.
It's my boy.
And he was so great in the movie. O'Shea and Mitchell, both incredibly good in the movie, as was Paul Giamatti, as he always is.
Yeah.
As Jerry Heller, and really kind of gave me some more insight into the band, but probably I would have liked to see more of it. Maybe that's just, kind of my, kind of desire to know about things, and I kind of want the whole film just shot from Dre's perspective, rather than showing it as ensemble and everybody coming together and becoming NWA. I kind of want to know how Dre became Dre. But
that's for another picture.
But that's another picture entirely. But Straight Outta Compton, it really is as good as everybody says. 88% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Go out and pick it up. It's definitely worth it. They're obviously, as any movie, flaws, but some great performances and an interesting story, well told. So, recommend.
Okay. Before we wrap it up, I'm kind of wondering if it would have been beneficial to have it longer and might have either pushed it over the nom category or something, because it was a little bit surprising that it didn't get nominated because there was so much buzz. I'm wondering if they figured that O'Shea, you said, had too much of an advantage. Like, it doesn't count. Your dad taught you how to do everything.
Right. Yeah, and apparently he did work closely with his dad to make sure that he got all of everything down. And
and you want
he gets the patois in there so that when he comes out and goes, "Yo, Dre, I got something to say," he doesn't say something. He says, "Yo, Dre, I got something to say." It kind of swallows the something. That's how you got it. Otherwise, it doesn't. It's not the same as the record,
Yeah. So I don't know. I was actually surprised it wasn't nominated for anything. It probably did deserve at least one or two noms.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go check it out. I actually, even though I don't like the band, I don't like the style, there's something about music opics, or however they put it. Biopics that are always...
It's a musical biopic.
It's a musical biopic. There's something about them that it's always worth your time to... Almost always, I should say. There's probably some bad ones out there. It's almost always worth your time to go out there and check out music biopics, because it does help give you, like Lunchbox was saying, insight into some of the band, its formation, and it helps especially when you have the people who are primary players in that band heavily involved.
Right, yeah.
So you're not getting... it's always going to be my go-to, the Sanka Cafe and Noel Brenner of Cool Runnings. It's very much very loosely based.
And, part of the help from that is that they know exactly what happened.
Yeah. So
part of the hindrance there, though, is
they know exactly
what happened, and they don't want you to tell the bad part.
Yeah, cut out that part where I beat that woman, okay?
Yeah. Let's leave that out. Yeah, okay. Well, let's skip to the part where Easy's being a jerk. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so...
now, and granted, there is some of the faults are still in there about Cube being, accused of being anti-Semitic and all of that. There's some stuff in there that's not, particularly praiseworthy, but at the same time, it just kind of feels like they probably glossed over a lot of the details here.
Okay.
And I kind of want the unauthorized miniseries, because I want this to go, I want to see every episode of what the heck happened here.
Okay, and that's the other thing.
That for me is really part of what makes it a pretty good movie, is that you go, I want to watch more of this. I want the rest of the story. Give me more. I want to watch this.
And that might actually be what cost them also a nomination, is that when you're saying that Hollywood likes the grimy underside as well. So maybe cutting out the more unseemly details might have hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, probably. Because if you would have had, the scene of Dre flipping out, maybe.
That's
maybe you get a little more on that.
You got to have that, either that big cry scene or that big scene that everybody is really shocked at. It seems anymore, but yeah. So go check it out. Straight Outta Compton.
Straight Outta Compton.
All right, time now for movies that needed a rewrite. That portion of the program where we talk about movies that didn't quite cut it, whether it fell apart at the beginning, ended on a sour note, or just total mess all throughout. This week, Lunchbox has for us
The Avengers.
I'm assuming you mean the one by Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon? Or are you talking about...
The 1998 one.
Oh, you're talking about the 1998 one.
With Ralph Fiennes and Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman looks very nice in that catsuit.
Yes, she does.
I'll give her that. Not as nice as Diana Rigg, but...
Not as nice as Diana Rigg, no. They sewed her into that from what I remember.
Yep, had to make it as tight as possible. Which was the best thing about that.
I was going to say, yeah, next to Sean Connery.
Yeah, Sean Connery is awesome. I'll give you that, but no, not in this movie.
No.
he was just as the winter that's trying to control the weather. Okay, another bad pun. The whole movie was bad puns.
The whole movie was bad
all
puns.
Sean Connery delivered the whole time was bad puns.
Yes. Well, he had that. There was one funny moment where, like, he's got this, like, huge dramatic, like, who should be controlling the wall? Me! And then, like, a teapot goes off and they're like, tea? You know, and just, like, suddenly cuts tone. And I think that was about the best part.
And if that was their funny, quote-unquote, funny moment in the movie, that would have been awesome. Except that they kept trying to ladle it in to have funny moments. They kept having Sean Connery deliver these horrible weather puns the whole time. Puns are the last refuge of the witless. Not funny. Especially bad puns, which kept having him deliver. I have no idea why Sean Connery agreed to this.
Yeah.
I know why Ralph Fiennes did, because he got to play Patrick McNee's part as John Steed, although he was horribly miscast.
Yes.
Because he is far too young to play that role.
Yes.
And in playing that role at too young, he ended up with his banter with Uma Thurman as Emma Peel, ends up coming off as sexual tension, which they clearly meant to do in the movie, but it does not come off that way in the TV show.
No.
The TV show, it just seems like they're more of like the old married couple that kind of knows what they're talking about without like really saying exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just kind of those great partners that kind of can just say this and, oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. You know, and that's it. So I love Ralph Fiennes and should have cast somebody much older for that role. Needed to fully rewrite the story or maybe make it like an hour longer so they can explain to us exactly what's going on in the movie.
Yeah. The
movie just skips around and doesn't explain anything. I still have no idea why the people, the De Winter's crew,
were dressed as bears,
pastel teddy bears.
Yeah.
Like everybody in a different color. Like
maybe they just came from their like Grateful Dead concert or something.
Maybe. But it's never explained. Nobody mentions it. And there are so many things in the movie that
are like that.
They just skip over.
To be fair, like the TV series towards the end had these really kind of bizarre things happen, but they always explain them. And I get the feeling that the people who made the movie like caught an episode or two and say, oh, they do these weird off the wall things for no reason, but they did do them for a reason. It did make them,
and they explained what was going on. That's the problem, is they never explained what was going on. Steed and Peel basically just decide that De Winter is in charge of the whole operation. They never actually figure it out in the movie. There's no point where they deduce that it must have been him.
Yeah.
It just skips to, oh, the videotape was a clever forgery.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's a very much a, like, we just figured it out because.
Yeah,
like,
because it's expedient to the plot. Let's skip ahead.
Yeah, really.
Skip ahead in the story about 20 minutes. Okay, next.
Flip through the script, and done.
Like, this script's too long. What's the next? These pages got stuck together.
Cut all this relevant exposition. We need to get to the chase, the action. Yeah.
Yeah. which I think is why it turned out so poorly. Give us more exposition, which I hardly ever say, but
yeah.
More exposition would have been good in that movie.
More exposition would have helped it. Because I don't know where you'd begin to rewrite that. But,
well, recasting, for one.
Recasting.
And definitely cut out all those puns. And then explain why they're in bear suits.
Yeah.
At some point in this movie.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, what do you got?
I got a bad headache is what I got. And a case of insomnia that was quickly cured by Godzilla. So there I am in my hospital bed trying to watch Godzilla again, the 2014 one with a horribly wasted Ken Watanabe and a horribly wasted Bryan Cranston and a way overused Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah, okay, so here was a movie that was sold totally on the idea that you actually had Bryan Cranston making, I don't want to say a big screen debut, but in some sort of big role, which he wasn't. Yeah, spoilers, he was killed off in the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't feel that's spoiling it for him. I think that's saving you from it. Ken Watanabe, you think that he has this larger role, maybe in the kind of scientist position that always seems to go to people like either, Jeff Goldblum or Paul Giamatti explaining things. But when he explains things, they don't have the gravitas. It's just sort of cut to the Asian dude to kind of remind you that it's a Godzilla film.
Yeah.
Which, horrible waste of him and his talent. And then getting to the scenes where you have Godzilla versus the Mutos, as they call them, it's just, you plod. You plod there. You do not get there in any sort of expedient fashion. You've got long scenes with Taylor Johnson's character that are just so boring and so so pointless too. It just, you sort of spin around on it. And then when you get to the action scenes, those are actually somewhat well done, but they're too short. Granted, a big, kind of kaiju monster film is not going to be cheap to film unless you do it the traditional and the right Godzilla way with a guy in a big rubber suit. Yeah. But at no point are you sitting there totally engaged. And I had watched it on the big screen, which was good because it wasn't engaging then either, but at least it was kind of neat to see Godzilla big boons and just yay, huge. But on the small,
yay, it's Godzilla fighting Mothra,
or Mutos, or whatever they called it. Why not just call it Mothra?
It was Godzilla fighting Mothra.
It was Godzilla fighting Mothra. But yeah, and another monster, which I don't know whether the big pylon legs, whoever. They underused their biggest assets, which were Bryan Cranston, Ken Watanabe, and Godzilla. It's like, whoever heard of a Godzilla film where you had Godzilla doesn't come in for halfway through the picture, is only there sparingly, and you just feel...
Yet he's not even the star of the show.
He's not even the star of the show. And it's no offense.
Bryan Cranston wasn't even the star of the show, and he should have been.
And he should have been. And I'm sorry, as good as he was in the original Kick-Ass, Aaron Taylor Johnson just isn't a strong enough talent, at least not yet, to carry a whole film on his own. And it was mostly about him and his worries about his family. And it's why not just say, hey, big monster possibly coming your way, go hide somewhere.
Yeah.
No, we got to keep it all secret because we're in the military. It's just so much waste in this film. And the only way I could think of to save it would be to have dramatically reduced Taylor Johnson's involvement in it. Sorry. Mm-hmm. And up Bryan Cranston and Ken Watanabe's. Have them as the scientists trying to figure out what they need to do next. And then ultimately, yes, you can cut to that great line of, let them fight. Whatever, we've tried everything, whatever. Because every moment that Godzilla and Mothra are not on scene is just total waste of your time.
Yeah, this is what we showed up for. We wanted to watch big monsters crush things.
Yeah. And any amount of exposition you have, we all know is going to be sci-fi babble anyway, so screw it. Make it ridiculous, make it stupid. I enjoyed God help me, I enjoyed the 98 version with Matthew Broderick more than this one, because
I was going to ask which one you thought was better.
At least that one had more action. Yes, it was goofy, and I did not like the overall look of Godzilla. At least this one, when you did see Godzilla, he looked more like himself, so to speak.
Right, it looked more like the original Godzilla rather than Patrick Tatopoulos' envisioning of a more lizard-like creature.
Yeah, which is like, I want to make it more realistic. It's a freaking 100-foot lizard. I don't want realistic. I want rubber suits. You know? It was a waste. Total waste of talent and a total waste of screen time. Only saving it would have been to chop it down to like 30 minutes. In fact, if you have some time, go pick yourself up a copy and do a little bit of re-editing, which has nothing but like all the monster scenes and maybe like intersperse moments of Ken Watanabe saying, "Let them fight." You know, like sort of like a Mortal Kombat, it has begun style type right before each fight.
After you edit that together, make sure you post it in the comments so that we can comment on it.
Yes, because I would watch the heck out of that film. I think all of us would. Time now for Strained Metaphors with Lunchbox.
I ask for so little. Just fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave. Said, of course, by the immortal David Bowie in Labyrinth. But isn't that really what we're all looking for? That sometimes you need to be feared, sometimes you need to be loved, and sometimes you just want somebody to do what you say. But if you find that person that will do that, you will forever be their slave. You'll do whatever they want as long as they obey those 3 rules. There's only 3 rules in life. Those 3. Oh, and Bowie is immortal.
Of course. And though Ziggy did play guitar, and by Graptharp's hammer, it's hard to believe that both he and Alan Rickman are gone. It's been nice having you here with us to both remember them and talk about movies. So please be sure to join us next time, hopefully on a happier One More Rewrite podcast. For Lunchbox,
Enjoy it while you can.
I'm Jester. Toodaloo!